welcome to a special Hopkins Farm Brewery Excursion episode of
Brutal Battle. This is one of those farm breweries that I think we mentioned recently that we like to go and hit up. So we wanted to hit one up, and we did. We went to Hopkins Farm. They're in Havre de Grace, Maryland, and they've become pretty popular.
At least around here.
Yeah.
I don't know how widespread their popularity is.
That's true. That's true. Around here, at least, yes. This is our second time going, and we actually made the mistake of not checking our Untapped before we started trying beers because we repeated one. But actually, I guess it wasn't too much of a mistake because we did really enjoy that beer. Yeah. So, yeah. But we have two beers for this one, and we're obviously going to talk about it. And, yeah. Let's get into the first beer then. And this is their Hopkins Heritage. It is 5.6% alcohol, and I believe this one is a farmhouse ale. Because it doesn't say so on the cans. Because they have these kind of like generic 16-ounce cans that they just fill. And then they write on it the names of the beer. But they don't write the style of it on there. So yeah. This was their Hopkins Heritage 2022 ale. And yes, it's just a farmhouse. Which I think they had... Didn't they have two different farmhouse ales when we were there? They did. Yeah, we'll eventually talk about all the other stuff we drank there. But yes, so Hopkins Heritage Farmhouse Ale, 5.6% alcohol. They even put the IBUs, 36, on this. And 16-ounce cans for both of these.
You think they'd put the style and not the IBU?
I mean, that's more than fair point.
Right?
Yeah, people would probably be more interested in the style than the IBUs. Yes, that's definitely... People haven't really cared about IBUs since the great IBU wars of the IPAs some years ago. Yeah. Like, no one cares about IBUs that much.
Especially, like, if you're just going in to pick up beer and you don't know what they have on tap. So you have to go over to their menu, look at the style, look at the name, figure out what you want, and then go back to buy the beer.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Good point. If anyone from Hopkins Farm ends up hearing this, maybe, consider that. Just instead of IBUs,
put the
say
style.
What it is. That'd be cool. Okay, anyway.
Nice and clear.
Extremely clear. You know how we feel about clear beer on this podcast. We love it. Looks gorgeous.
It's like a pretty,
coppery, yellowish copper. Yeah. It's beautiful. It looks really, really nice.
Oh, and it just smells so grainy. Ooh.
Yeah, and it's like... sometimes you get that, kind of not good, spent malt grain type smell. This is the good version of that.
It's, malty and a little honey.
Yeah, a little bit of straw in there. Very slight.
Maybe a little citrus.
It's slight, but
orange.
Yeah. A little orange. I don't know. I get a little lemon peel to it, but it's slight. It's super, super slight.
It smells good.
I smell the farmhouse ale yeast at work in there, but it's also not super strong. Because sometimes with farmhouse ales, that's what can turn some people off, is a really strong kind of farmhouse ale yeast. Because they do have a very particular taste and smell. And
this is one we had there. We had it there and we liked it, so that's why we brought it home.
Exactly. Both of these we had there and liked, which is why we brought it home. Because at this point, we don't want to bring beers home that we think we're not going to like because... life's too short to drink bad beers, so,
I like this more than I remember it.
Oh, I know why.
The Naked Cheerio?
Yeah, there's a very strong kind of Naked Cheerio note at the end, which I know you're a big fan of.
I love that Naked Cheerio.
There is more bitterness in the finish than I thought there would be.
I think it's just really... It's easy, flavorful, tasty.
Mm-hmm. I do like some good bitterness,
well-rounded.
Though. When I'm pointing out the bitterness, it's not a negative thing. It's I'm surprised that it's that bitter, and I like that. I'm into it.
Has a little bit of everything going on in this.
Yeah, I think the flavors that we talked about are there. Definitely that honey note. It is very malty, just kind of like that brewing grain character to it. Slightly caramelly, actually. Yeah, very slight caramel.
And I almost said that on the nose, but then I picked honey rather than caramel. But I was perceiving some caramel on the nose as well.
I mean, they're both like a sweet molasses-y type thing. So, and that straw's in there, that little bit of a lemon peel, that farmhouse yeast flavor is definitely there. But like I said, in the nose, it's pretty restrained. In the flavor, it's pretty restrained. This is good. This is easy sip and tasty.
Yeah. I feel
I
like
like
it's
it.
also a beer you could drink year round. Like
Yeah.
it's light enough that you can get by in the summer months, but it has enough body and flavor that could get you through like into the fall and winter months.
Yeah, definitely.
And what's special about this is everything that they use, they grow on the farm. Everything that
That's
was made,
right.
which is why this is their heritage.
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's why each year they mark it with the year because it's from that year's crop. So it's cool. It's a really cool thing, and it's a really good way to like very directly support that farm. Because with other things, you know, they're bringing in hops, potentially grain from other places. With this one, you know exactly where everything's coming from. So, yeah, it's all about them. So, very cool.
Yeah.
I'm into it. Did you want to explain their place? What's it like?
Well, it's a farm brewery, so it's big.
It's large.
Not as big as some other farm breweries, but
True.
pretty big, and they're newer. I don't know what does it say what year? Yes.
Yeah, I can look.
2020.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think they were that young.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're super young. They're only like 2 years at this point.
Yeah, and they got a good thing going. Relatively small indoor space, but pretty expansive outdoor seating, and you can even bring your
Yeah.
own chairs. Like someone brought like one of those pop-up tents. I think they had
Yep.
like it looked like parents from like a soccer team, and like the kids were there running around doing their thing, which was fine, but also slightly annoying because they were like throwing things in trees, and I'm like, please don't destroy the tree
I know.
because it was a small tree.
I mean, that's always the issue you run into with breweries allowing kids to, you know, to be there and kind of unattended a lot of the
Yeah.
time. I mean, there have actually been breweries who have had to clamp down on that. I know Union Craft Brewing
Yeah.
was one some years ago that had to send something out saying, look, after a certain time, you cannot have children here because people were just not watching them. They were destroying things, bothering other patrons.
Yeah.
But I don't think we saw anything too crazy
No,
at
we
Hopkins
did.
Farm.
We did.
So
We
that's
did.
good.
And then eventually, like, they were out in, like, the field where no one was sitting, and they were playing, kicking the soccer ball around it. They were fine. I was just worried because they were throwing, like, bean bags and this, like, it was like a small baby tree that, like, was probably planted to, like, you know.
Yeah.
There was cornhole there.
Yep.
Outdoor tables. Some of the tables had umbrellas, some did not. They also have like two tented like pavilions that you could rent.
Yeah. And they were both reserved at that point for like, I think one was a baby shower, and the other one I don't know what it was because there was like pretty much no one there. I don't know if it had already been over when we got there or if it hadn't started yet.
I think it was starting a little later.
Yeah. But also, don't they have taps outside? They have like a trailer with taps outside.
Now that wasn't operational the second time we were there, but the first time we were there, we actually got a beer outside there. I remember.
And then their main tap room is beautiful. Like it is gorgeous. Yeah, it definitely looks like very new construction, which makes it look even more beautiful. Like the architecture on the inside of like an old style like construction of a barn is just very beautiful, very cool. It's definitely the vibe you want from going to a farm brewery.
Yeah.
And a lot of the side is open a lot of the time. So you're just getting like open air, which feels really nice. Obviously they have TVs there too, though, if people want to go and watch a game. And they have a pretty good size tap list. I think it's like, I don't know, like 12 or more. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you might be able to just pull up what they have right now.
But anyway, it's a good amount.
Yeah, there's kind of like a little bit of something for everybody. They had live music when we were there.
Yeah, yep. They always have a space for that.
What's kind of nice about them is they have, sometimes when you go places and they have live music, it's only in the evenings, which can be good or bad depending on what you're looking for. But this, they had live music like right as soon as they opened, which is when we got there. And they have ample parking like in the fields. And food trucks aplenty.
Yeah, the first time we were there in 2020, I believe.
Right.
Were there 2 food trucks then, I think? And this time there were 4.
There were 4 food trucks.
Which, I mean, it makes it a little hard to make choices at that point because you're like, oh, this looks really good, but then this looks really good. But we ended up getting,
I got pit beef.
You got pit beef and I got pulled pork, I believe. And it was really good.
Yeah, and it was kind of nice because, like, they had, like, multiple kinds of barbecue sauce. So you picked your barbecue sauce to put on.
And the amount of fries we were given.
Yeah, we got fries, and it was, like,
insane.
They were good fries, too.
Yeah.
We just couldn't eat them all. There were just so many.
Which, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the food truck that we got the food from. I think it was like Smoketown something.
I don't remember.
The smoke was in the name, I know. So, really sorry about that. The food was very good. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you end up going to Hopkins Farm in Havre de Grace, at some point that food truck will be there again, I would assume. So, but yeah, it's really cool.
And they have indoor bathrooms. They also have porta potties.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the last thing I was going to touch on before going to the second and final beer, which I think I remember liking this one more than the Heritage that we just had. So yeah, let's get into this one. This is the Rise and Grind. It is 5.8% alcohol, and it is a coffee stout. I'm excited for this because I remember quite liking it.
I always like when breweries have stouts on in the summer.
Yeah, well...
And inevitably there's somebody that goes to a brewery and, like, that's all they drink. Like, I have a coworker, and, like, that's, like, all he drinks. He loves beer. He drinks a lot of beer, but, like, he only drinks stouts.
Yeah, I get that.
Year-round, that's all he'll drink.
Yep. Oh, so there is also oats and lactose. And vanilla beans.
In this?
And coffee.
Okay.
Yes. So that's all in play. Because I took a quick, like, sip off the lip of it, and I was like, this tastes kind of sweet. Oh. And I was like, I don't think this is a straight-up coffee stout. So I had to look it up on Untapped, because we did have it while we were there. I guess we just didn't pick up on that. But anyway, looks like a stout, obviously.
And the coffee smells so good.
Oh my gosh! But aren't you getting that, like, vanilla, that sweetness on the nose?
I'm getting the creaminess for sure.
I mean, you can definitely tell the lactose in there. It is, like, super creamy. It's smelling kind of like a latte.
Yeah,
it really is, because you have those great coffee notes. You have some nice, like, chocolatiness, that creamy vanilla. I mean, it smells good.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Pretty much all I'm getting. I mean, it smells exactly like what you would anticipate.
It's a pretty awesome smell. Almost the vanilla-iness and the sweet level of it almost hits like a marshmallow level, in my opinion.
I like the low ABV on this too.
Oh, I know. Well, that's the other thing is how many stouts nowadays do you find that are low ABV?
Well, I mean, and again, to have a stout on tap in the summer, you have to hit that low mark, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting because when I sip this, it's more like sweet up front and coffee more on the back end.
Yeah, and there's a decent bitterness too.
Well, and I think the coffee's kind of rolling into the bitterness at the very end. So I like that. It's kind of like a flavored journey. It's not just like a one-note thing. It's like that vanilla and that kind of like creamy chocolatey up front, and then it turns into the coffee with a bitter finish.
I feel like the Hopkins Heritage was like that too, just like a lot of different flavors.
Yeah, that's true. Now, what I will say is, I don't know what type of coffee they used, but, well, actually, it might say so. But if it's not that good a coffee, I think the smart thing they did was adding those other things. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have really good coffee, then you need some sort of way to, like, take away from the rough edges of the flavor of that coffee. And I think that doing something like this, you know, putting in the lactose, putting in the oats, putting in, you know, the vanilla beans, I think that really helps with it. But let me look. Coffee. It's from Coffee.
Ah, I was thinking.
Our local coffee shop.
I was thinking, you know what? I hope they used something local.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
they
I
did.
I feel like farm breweries are notorious for using local ingredients.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I really like going there. One of the reasons. Just farm breweries in general is they are very focused on local because, you know, their business isn't local. Like, they sell what they grow there typically. So it's just really nice to go to places like that. But this is a nice beer. Yeah.
And they do, the first time we were there, I don't know if we told the story, in 2020.
I love the sweetness.
Yeah, it's
really, not too sweet either.
It's tasty. The first time we were there in 2020 was like one of the first places we had been to, like, after the pandemic. Well,
it's still going
on. But
it's
I mean,
still,
like, after, the
worst,
lockdown,
right,
like the shock of it all. And it was the first place we went to where there were, like, lots of people. And we were like,
It was literally like when we first came out of the cave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, after being holed up for months. And
in
we're
your
just
house.
like, is there humanity out here?
And now we were like, whoa, there's people. There's a lot of people. There are still people that exist.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me go over what we had
there. Because we did 2 flights?
Yes, we did 2 flights, and they do flights of 4,
yeah.
which I think are like 5-ounce pours.
I don't know. They were. It was like it was a good amount. It wasn't too much. It wasn't too little. Because sometimes we've gotten flights, and I'm like, this is too much beer.
Yeah. I hear you on that. So the first one we had was the Hamilton, which we had. That was the one we had before. While we were tasting, I was like, wait a minute. I think we've had this before. It's a Pilsner. It was good. It was. I mean, I like.
If there's a Pilsner, we're gonna drink it.
Yeah, which is funny to like go back and compare that to how we used to be with the podcast, like really old days, like not interested in lagers at all.
Yeah.
And then there was a shift, and now it's like all about lagers. Then we had their beer called the Chief, which was a rye beer, which we thought was okay. We weren't huge on that.
Hamilton was better.
Yeah, it was a rye pale ale. Hamilton was definitely a lot better. Then we had that Hopkins Heritage Ale 2020 or 2022. Then we had this Rise and Grind as well.
Which we really liked.
Then we had their Beer de Grace, which is it's their other farmhouse, actually. Yeah. That's their other farmhouse, which we did not like that nearly as much as the Hopkins Heritage. We actually weren't that big on that one. And I think
that Beer de Grace they also had with cantaloupe. Was that the one they had with cantaloupe?
Yeah, I believe so.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting for summer. And I was leaning more towards that one, but the bartender was like, this one's more popular.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, is that your way of telling me it's not very good?
Right. Then we also had All Gas, No Brakes, which is a double IPA, which we thought was okay.
Yeah.
We thought it was okay.
Our first flight, the first flight you get is always better, I feel like.
Right. And then we had the Lemon Squeezy, which was a lemon wheat beer.
I liked that.
I didn't like it as much as you did. I just thought it was okay, but you liked it more than okay.
I liked it.
And then the other one that I really enjoyed was the Natural Blonde, which was a blonde ale, which a lot of times you think, blonde ales are kind of like no frills, like pretty easy drinking, not that flavorful, but that one had a lot more flavor than I expected from it, and it was a nice surprise.
Yeah. So, it was good.
That's what we had when we were there, and we had a good time.
Yeah.
Like we said, food was really good, location is great, venue is awesome, all the amenities and all that, and the beer is a good time. So yeah, that's it. So I keep saying this. We have more Excursion episodes coming up.
Did we point out that they have like lots of beer in 16-ounce cans to go?
No. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was what was kind of nice because they had like Crowler size beers, yes. But then next to them of all of the same beers are just 16-ounce cans, and you can just buy one at a time, or you can like mix and match. You can just buy we just bought 2.
Yeah, love that. Love that. More breweries should do that. I mean, I guarantee you're going to make more sales because there are literally times where people are like, oh, I only really want one of these, or especially if it's beers they haven't tried, but they just want to take home to try it. If people see, oh, I have to buy an entire 4-pack or an entire 6-pack, some people are really going to get scared off by that. So if you have this type of setup where it's like literally you can buy one beer or you can buy as many as you want, people are going to buy more. I mean, it's just a fact. And like I've said before, you can upcharge a little bit on those singles, and people really aren't going to care. So you can make a little more profit than you would with just 4-packs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you for remembering.
Yeah, which is why we have 2 in the show, because otherwise, normally with our Excursion, we've been only doing 1 beer.
Because we have to buy a 4-pack or a 6-pack.
We don't want 2 4-packs.
Which that's exactly what's happening with the next 2 Excursion episodes we have coming up, because we had to buy 6-packs from one or 4-packs from the other one. So you're only getting 1 beer from those. So the breweries who do smart things like this, we will feature 2 of your beers versus the other places we will only feature 1. That's how it goes.
Uno.
So good job, Hopkins Farm.
So we got more Excursion episodes coming out because it's still nice out. So we're still hitting all those outside breweries.
Yes. And we also have a beer mail episode coming up at some point, which it's been a long time for one of those. I do want to do another Brewery Society Beers episode or two coming up at some point. And then once we're not really, once the weather kind of turns more and we're not really going to breweries and doing excursion episodes, then I'm going to switch us more to the mystery beers.
And that's because we're only doing outside seating.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still staying very cautious. We've never had COVID. So knock on wood. Yeah. We're being careful. But anyway, thanks everyone for checking this out. Real quick, the socials, we are on Untapped. I'm Carlton Malibu, all one word.
I'm RubyReb62.
And Instagram.
Brutal Battle Podcast.
We're on tons of podcatchers. Whatever you use, please rate us and review us. But also, word of mouth, tell people about us. We love that. Also, if you want to email us, you can do that. If you just want to say hi or you have ideas for episodes or beers you want us to try, topics you wanted us to talk about, or you just want to get a shout out on the podcast, you can email us at brutalbattlepodcast@gmail.com. And if you want back episodes, you can go to brutalbattle.com or archive.org and search Brutal Battle. And on the website, brutalbattle.com, you can also see pictures of all the beers from every episode. I think I hit everything. Is that everything?
I think so.
That's basically everything. But thanks, everyone, for taking your time to listen to this. And until next time,
keep it brutal.